Welcome to the Digital Remodeler podcast. So glad you've chosen to join us today. And with me is Ajay Mishra. And AJ, so glad you're with us today.
Thank you for having me, Carl.
So, AJ, tell us a little bit about Tricetra and the problem that you are solving in the remodeling space.
We are an AI startup. We built an AI designer to help remodeling businesses win more projects. And they do that by showing homeowners what the project would be at the end of the whole process at the very beginning.
Excellent. One of the things that you and I talked about, and this is really how we got to collaborating and putting this podcast together, is this design vision gap. One of the things as a marketer I talk about with our clients is you have to excite the imagination of the homeowner. And that's kind of how you and I got our conversation started. So I want you to kind of delve into this design vision gap and the way you uh, would define that, if you would, kind of explain that for us.
Sure. And I've been a big fan of all of your write-ups on LinkedIn. I have actually watched some of the podcasts that you have done, and it resonates a lot. And you speak to this phrase in your conversations too. What I have seen in the industry is whenever there's a project to happen, there's always a person doing the project, experts, whether it's remodelers or builders who do that for a living. So they know exactly how all of this go. And then you have these people who write the check and they do it a few times, homeowners maybe a few times in their lifetime, and it's not, and they have other things in life, so when they approach that project they are a bit clueless. They don't want to confess, but that's what is happening, and there is always that gap, experts and people who are writing the check, and that gap is what we call design vision gap. Essentially nobody's at fault, but when remodelers experts are explaining how they will do the project, the other person is the homeowners are totally in dark. And so the idea is for any project to happen efficiently, that we have to bridge that gap. And we can do that by bringing visual. Everybody can see things and understand. We are all visual people. And that is how we can bridge the gap and bring efficiency and excitement and trust in all projects, big or small.
That's so important. And, you realized that that was a pain point for not just the contractor, but the homeowner. And I think one of the things that oftentimes contractors forget is that people make buying decisions, no matter how large or small, with emotion, and then they support that with logic.
Yeah.
And so if they don't feel good about it,
Yeah.
doesn't matter how much logic we apply, that transaction is not going to happen. So, one of the things that you realized it was a pain point, and
Right.
and you kind of hit on this, but let's dive into this a little more. Why do contractors struggle to communicate vision during the sales process? You hit that. They're doing this day in, day out.
Yeah.
It's clear in their head.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
the disconnect?
I think in my experience, one thing that I've seen all of the contractors that I have dealt with, they are always busy. They're barely keeping their head of the water. So there is this, while they have to win projects to keep food on the table, there's so much going on. And another thing is they know exactly, they look at this space, oh, I know how to do this. So they quickly want to get to the project because that's what they're there for. Homeowner has the opposite problem. Is for them one nice project they're going to spend 100,000 on it. They really want to know, even if small projects are like 20, 25 grand is sizable money. So they're busy. And then in order to do anything about design vision gap, there are only two options they really have. One is they can quickly try something like sketching it out on a piece of paper, which is beyond just the words, not helping much. It might even confuse the homeowner more. But the real thing that they are actually looking for is some kind of design, 3D. There they don't have anybody on their payroll. So they really have to go and ask somebody to create these things. And they're costly. More than cost, I would say it takes too long for that homeowner to keep you in the loop because they generally get five more. So they have other people pitching for the same project. So there's not enough time available, and the cost of creating any kind of artifact or collateral is just too high. So this is then after a while, they just give up and they don't know how it's going to go. So they just don't think about it and they just keep doing the same thing. And what is the same thing? The same thing is all pitching the trust issue, addressing the trust issue. I've done it for your friend, your neighbor. Trust me, I'll do a great job with you. And they all pitch the same thing, and it becomes a very competitive bidding
Mm.
process.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point is it now it starts to default to, well, I did this project and I did this project, but it's still that issue is, but that's the work on somebody else's house,
Yeah,
and I want to get a picture of what it's going to look like in my house. I want
yeah,
to get a picture of I want to say back to exciting the imagination. I
yeah,
want to see what I'm dreaming of
yeah,
in my space
yeah,
because this is where I live. This is where I make my memories.
yeah,
It's personal. There's sentiment here,
yeah,
and there's a lot of things that come in here. So this brings us to this idea that, and I think you would agree. A lot of contractors underestimate the importance of presentation and visualization.
yeah. I mean, you have done marketing. It's everybody likes good marketing, but creating one is difficult. And it's difficult because of two main reasons. One of them, it can hurt you if the presentation is lacking. So sometimes it's better not to do a presentation if the presentation is not going to land. And so first you're thinking, okay, and each time each space is different, each homeowner is different. So how do you make sure that what you're adding to your proposal is consistent across all of the bids that you're making? So I think that's quality, consistent quality, and doing it at a price point that you can absorb uh, as a customer acquisition cost. Both of them factors actually make it very difficult, so they become hesitant to adopt a solution that does not promise on these two factors.
Yeah, I think this is important, and this is one of the things that you and I discussed in our pre-call conversation is so many contractors end up competing on price because they don't have the capability to present that design element. Just what you said, they don't have a designer in-house. To go out and get designs takes time, and the time then starts to cost them projects, and so it becomes kind of this vicious cycle.
Yeah,
And so now they're stuck on price, and this is where you solve the problem. And so this is what we really want to set up is
yeah,
because of the technology, you've now been able to provide a solution that allows them to compete with the design build firm that has the in-house designer, and now
yeah,
they can play at a higher level. And so I want you to walk us through how your AI visualization system
yeah.
actually works. Number one, so not so much a deep technical dive, but just a practical dive of how that would work during a sales appointment. Like what would that process be like?
So we have done, let me just put a little caveat there. What we have built is like an AI designer on the go in your pocket, available to help you pitch better in every conversation you have. That is our dream. That's how we see our solution. How does it work? Practically you got a call, there's a lead coming, you paid say $90 for the lead. I mean, that's some of the leads, I don't know, cost so much. You walk in, people who adopt Tricetra, they just go directly to the space. Okay, this is the bathroom you're doing. They can eyeball it, or they can quickly do a measurement. They see it's a say alcove setting. And in one shot, they describe here's the space, either text or quickly draw it out. And within 3 minutes, a 3D design, an impressive 3D design with all the right materials at the right place shows up. And now you start the conversation with this model. And you're saying, hey, this, and it looks starkly different than what the current space is. A little bit, because the current space, they want to change anyway. And you're not saying, hey, I'm this, I have done this. You're saying, I can take you here, which has beautiful tile, it has a beautiful color, it has lights, it has new vanity with panels, it has the walk-in shower. And so it just conversation becomes, if they look at it and you see their pupils dilate, now you can just fill in. Now you just have to not be a scary guy. Then your conversation becomes like, it's going to convert. So that's
Mm,
how it works with us. And the reason it is effective is because of the time element. If it needed even 10, 15 minutes, it would be different. The fact that you can start there changes how you go about pitching.
mm. Yeah, see, one of the things I love, there's a topic called neuro-linguistic programming that we use in marketing, and the idea is called future pacing. So I mentally project you to where I'm trying to take you to. Where if I'm going to sell, I want you in that new bathroom. We stopped talking about your old bathroom. I want you in that new shower already. And so I love that in 3 minutes,
Yep.
um, you as a contractor already have them in that new bathroom. And now we're no longer talking about the current space.
Yep.
We're already looking at colors, we're looking at materials.
Yep.
Mentally, we've already put them there.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the great things here that you just brought up is in 3 minutes, mentally, you've already moved that homeowner to the new space.
Yes.
We've moved that conversation. So, so in 3 minutes, we're designing this new concept.
Yeah.
What is the biggest feedback, as far as when a contractor starts using this technology in action? What's kind of the biggest surprises that you get that they communicate to you, or you kind of hear from contractors the first time they use the technology?
I think first is very practical. The ones who have been using us for now more than a year, they have seen different evolution of this. The fully automatic one has been in the market just for 6 months, but they have seen earlier evolution of this. They are just calmer about new projects because their conversion has gone from 1 out of 5 to 4 out of 5. Now, at a scale, I don't know what that number would be, maybe 3.7. But
Sure.
the fact that you're not running around, 1 out of 5 is bad. You
Yeah.
generally do 12 to 20 projects and you have to go around 100 times to get that 20. It's just a lot of actual cost and just mental exhaustion. So one is
Mhm.
like you just calmer, you can select, and they have, what I've seen is they have a good hunch for not just price, which homeowner. They also select homeowners. Like homeowners always think they have the upper hand. Good contractors select you too, because
Yeah.
they don't want to deal with a pesky homeowner who's changing their mind all the time, right? And so you get to choose. If you're good, you get to choose. So that this is a tangible change in their business because their conversion rate is pretty high. Now you have to do a good job. I mean, that we can't do anything about. So that is one. And the second thing that we have seen is they get very good ratings. Speaks to the trust. This is a somewhat implicit and indirect, but it's just number of uh, bad sort of experiences for contractor. We haven't heard from homeowners because they are not our direct customers. But what we have heard is like those projects are more exciting, and they keep sending me thank yous along the way as they have happy experiences. One of them is homeowners are not changing their mind too often because they get to see and they like what they saw. So it's not like 2 months afterwards, they're like, oh, no, not this, that, because it's anchored, to your point, it's anchored in their head what the project is going to be. So if they like it, they're not going to change their mind, which means decisions will be faster and everything becomes pretty good for the modeler. But I suppose the same thing would be true for homeowners too.
Yeah. I think you brought out something that is really important. Uh, that's really something that I think most of our listeners wouldn't think about, and that is that increased conversion rate. You know, if you're paying 90, 100, 150,
Yeah,
$200 per lead to land a good quality lead, and you're only closing 1 out of 5, and you are able to increase that closing rate to 3 out of 5, 4 out of 5, and you're doing that without increasing that ad spend.
yeah,
Um, that's a lot of bottom line revenue being added
yeah,
without changing your expenditures on the front end. And so, that is an amazing, amazing piece. We're always talking to our clients about, one of the variables you can really control is that closing rate.
yeah,
And, when you've got a tool that will help you improve that closing percentage, uh, take advantage of that. So
yeah.
that's impressive. Let's talk also about this. You talk about being able to look at actual materials, generating takeoffs. Explain that process a little more too.
So let me take this opportunity to explain technically our approach against everything that exists in the market, because that will also explain why we are able to do some of the things we are able to do quickly. We are AI native. The entire space description happens at a data layer. Generally, when you use any of these 3D tools, you are putting the scene together with families. If you use Revit or SketchUp, you put the 3D model together, and then you have these tools through which you do surface measurement, you do other things to derive the data that you need to create estimate, all of those other things. Ours is opposite. The 3D model that comes up is just one of the artifacts from the space description, which is in terms of numbers and graph. So everything there is to know about the space, the exact surface that has the tile, which is what the tile layout engine computes, is already pre-computed, is part of the description. So what happens then is the space is every granular detail about the space is available. The other thing that we have done, this is also we are different from all the other 3D tools that are in the market. They are all about creating 3D models, so getting the geometry right. When it comes to materials, they would have samples. So herringbone pattern tile will have some kind of sample. We took the opposite view. Nothing that we will show is not an actual SKU in the market with an actual URL that you can buy from. And that we did from day one. Because of that, when we are placing 2x6 on a backsplash, it is actually from Agdo with the actual pricing. And since it's all real measurements, and the surface, as I said, is also in the actual metric unit, computing how many tiles you need is just happening naturally. So when we now show a row in our bill of material table, it has the actual surface area, the number of tiles, the pricing of the tile, and that entry, and with the URL where you can realize that. So that becomes that each row then in our bill of materials become as real as it can get, and with a press of a button. This opens also a huge opportunity to then run real-time searches in different locale, which we haven't done yet, where people can get local pricing. Remodelers, we do have capability for them to add their own pricing. They have preferred pricing. Sometimes they get from vendor, most times. So they can manipulate that to what they can get a better deal for homeowner and can even have a more competitive pricing. So the idea to have, and that is, by the way, Carl, not just the material. All of the fixtures that we have are also real, down to the doorknobs and the faucets and the shower heads.
Oh, great. Yeah, that's awesome. So, one of the things that I think is also beneficial here, just because of the capabilities, is you're reducing homeowner friction, you're reducing anxiety, but I think there's another thing that's really great for the contractor here, because it allows the contractor to elevate the level of service they're providing on the front end. And to me, this solves one of those challenges that I think a lot of contractors face early on, and that's the feeling like they've got to offer the free estimate,
Mm.
because if I don't do that, I can't compete. Uh, but now they've got the ability to offer this premium service, and they can get again out of that. I always feel like the free estimate is the quick race to the bottom, because now you're in that pricing war.
Yeah.
And I'd like you to kind of weigh in on that too. If
Yeah.
you've kind of seen that with those who are using,
Yeah.
the technology, if it's allowed them to kind of up their positioning in the marketplace.
Yeah. It is perhaps the biggest uh, opportunity to change how everything happens. There is a constant worry that we have seen with our customers to say, if we show them the design, even if it's coming out nearly free for them, except for the subscription that they buy, each time it does not cost them anything. So there's still that fear that homeowner looks at it and then they would then go with somebody else, right? And we have seen two things. Number one, that that fear starts to go down when the cost is nearly zero. Because I mean, even your words can be taken and recorded and used, and by them they get more informed about the project, maybe do DIY. Who is going to prevent them from going in those directions? So fear has gone down. But the other thing that has happened is, Carl, they're able to charge on average, I don't know the exact number, but definitely more than 1,000, because of just the fact that they are appear so much more competent against the competition,
Mhm.
which has nothing to offer. So on a small bathroom project of 20 grand, if you can charge 1,000 more because of not just for that design, but overall, so you are now in a premium pricing. Plus, I think the we are now working with our customers to add this ability to track. You can just give them the 3D model, and when they come back on their own and check that 3D model out and give them a little bit of changes that they can make, if a homeowner is engaging with that model, you get the analytics on engagement, which you have no clue after you have left and you haven't closed the deal. You do not know how eager unless they call you back.
Yeah.
So all of that together makes up for whatever fear right now is felt. And I think um, this new way of, as you said, the free estimate also becomes just a hook. Everybody knows it's actually a sales hook, but here you are delivering an actual value right at the outset. And if we can have an agreement where, hey, take this, you can even go with somebody else, we'll just charge you for the design. Even that model can evolve over time.
Mm, absolutely. So, looking at the technology that's available, the technology you've put in the hands of contractors, what advice would you give to the contractor who's a little hesitant about adopting new technology? Obviously, I've been laughing. Google I/O has been this week, and they've been rolling out all their new technology. So, like it or not, new technology is coming your way. So for the contractor who's listening, who's like, "Yeah, that all sounds good. I just don't know." What would you say to them? How would you encourage them to take this kind of a step?
I would say while they might be hesitant, they also know they need a lever to grow the business. That whatever data I see and read about, they're constantly worrying about surviving and growing. AI is the biggest lever a small business, not big businesses are scared because they are being disrupted front, right, left, and center. Small businesses is where the most leverage AI presents for them. And if today a small business wants to grow, you should embrace and hug AI as tightly as you can, because the what it has done is something that was so complex. You know so much about your business. You are the domain expert. You know this day in, day out. This is where the expert part of design vision gap can work in your favor. I can give you an example. In our case, we have an ability to create uh, design style for individual businesses over time. So if we have about 2018 or 20 that we have curated to get you started. But after you have one, three, or four projects, you're like, okay, in this design, if I change this fixture to this fixture, and if I change this material to this pattern, I think it will make a bigger impression. You can just say, hey, do this. And now you have a derived version of the style available for you that because of your experience will work better for your pitches. Earlier, doing this would have been a nightmare because you have to hire so many people and like you don't know where to start. And because of AI, you added a dimension to your pitch in real time, and that has that kind of leverage can make a small business. This is where one person can deploy your mind and almost generate like 100 advantages for yourself very quickly.
Absolutely. So, AJ, if somebody wants to see the technology in action, they want to learn more about you, where can they do that?
So the name of the company is Tricetra, Trisetra. This is actually derived from Trichetra, that means 3D surface in Sanskrit. You go to our website, www.tricetra.ai. We are also on Instagram, and we post on YouTube and LinkedIn as well. The application is app.tricetra.ai, is free to use. There are free trials. We get a bunch of design you can try. You can get started and experience all that we talked about without any cost to you. You just have to sign up and go.
Excellent. And AJ, any last thoughts you have for our listeners out there? Some wisdom you'd like to leave them?
I think the industry is at a very exciting point. While many other industries are worried about being replaced, the biggest value is going to be in real estate space created by AI. And with tools that the industry was left behind in some ways, both because people were late to adopt, but you needed to learn something to use the solution. Now it's just natural language. You just say it and it will do things for you. This is the most exciting times for the industry, and I really hope we play a role in bringing new advantages to our customers and industry at large.
Absolutely. Well, AJ, it's been a pleasure having you on today. And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in. And we hope to see you again on the Digital Remodeler podcast.
Thank you, God. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.